simple. We kill
the Bat of Gotham.
I'm Batman.
Hello and welcome to the one and only original episode 172 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor as well as a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows over at batmanpodcastnetwork.com, like the two newest brightest stars of the Batman Podcast Network, the Batman Book Club and Straight Outta Gotham, and follow our Twitter at BatPod Network as well as BOF's Instagram at Batman on Film. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please take the time to rate and review the show. It'll really help spread the word. I'm the host of this episode of the BOF Podcast, Ryan Haas. That is my name. And today we are discussing all the big news coming out of DC FanDome. Probably one of the best days I can remember of being a DC fan. And thank goodness I'm not going to just drone on by myself for 59 minutes. I have here with me today two BOF brothers, Ryan Lauer and Chris Clow. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Mr. Haas. I'm doing great. I'm ecstatic. I'm stoked.
Where's the
horn?
Very
excited to be on here with you and Mr. Clow to talk all things nerd on what was, in my mind, a great day to be a DC fan. FanDome was, I think, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad that your energy level is so high because just little peek behind the curtain. I'm trying to coordinate a cross-country move right now.
Those are so easy.
And, you know, I've been stressed out about getting things packed in time and making sure that the movers are there and getting the lease all in order for the next place that we're moving into. So I've actually been pretty down the last couple of weeks. And then I saw something today that really picked me up.
Probably, I think I know what you might be talking about. I was going to make a joke, but then I don't want to bring any other content down, so I'm not going to say anything. We'll get there.
No problem.
So FanDome was cool. Like, in just general overall thoughts, like, it's cool that they did it and that they tried it. And they made really smart last minute decisions about like chopping the event in half and moving all the non-super announcement stuff to a couple weeks from now. So that way you just had one stream to watch and that was it. I thought that was great. So like it was like an all day thing. I had it on in the background, peek behind my curtain, which is not as, stressful as Clow's, but I had a dentist appointment this morning, like a emergency one. I had to run in and get done, and the Wonder Woman panel started right when I was done, so I had to like put the thing on my phone and all that, and whatever. But to DC FanDome's credit, it worked. Like, it worked on my phone. I could listen to it, and then all day it was either on my phone or the iPad or on the PC, and it all worked simultaneously. So I got to go about my day and still kind of experience being at the convention. So that was kind of a really cool thing. So I don't know if you have a brief behind the curtain story, Lauer, or if it's super uninteresting about like, no, I listen to everything.
I never miss a thing when it comes to DC, okay? I don't miss
I live tweet everything.
No, I caught a lot more than I thought I was going to be able to today.
Yeah.
And there were a few panels and pieces that I wasn't able to watch, and then a couple that I just kind of didn't seem interested in. And then there were actually a few that I did watch that I wasn't interested in and was very surprised. So overall, I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con. I haven't been to a con. So this is like, for me,
really?
This is really as close as I'm going to get to San Diego Comic-Con. And I was really, I don't know, I had a lot of fun watching a lot of this stuff. It was just overall really entertaining.
Awesome. I went to San Diego 2 years in a row, and I never have I had a more terrible idea than to try and do that. Like, at the end of, because it was 2008 and 9. Those were the only years I've gone.
Oh, those sound like good years, though.
They were fantastic. But like, so the end of the first time comes, and I'm just like, wow, that was exhausting, but that was exhilarating. But I'm pretty happy to go home and go to bed. And then I got there the first day in 2009, and I was like, I was just here. This is overwhelming. Why am I doing this to myself again? So in terms of like the actual...
And that was covering it for BOF, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. In 2008, I got to cover Watchmen. I got to say 2 words to Zack Snyder, and he looked at me That's my claim to fame there.
Were they curse words? Like 2
No,
words?
you know what it was?
Was it thank you or?
One of the 2 words was curses.
Oh.
So it kind of was
Zach?
a curse word.
I think one of them was cool.
Zach
No, I did get to meet Dave Gibbons in that round table, which was really cool, and I got to tell him how much. Like he seemed kind of curt at first, and then I said, "Hey, I work at a comic book store. I'm loving what you're doing on Green Lantern Corps," and he immediately lit up.
Oh, that got him. And his
that,
Green Lantern Corps is really good.
It is. It's fantastic.
Holy crap, that is really good.
But in terms of this event, necessity is the mother of invention. We live in very unique times. You have to try and facilitate those kinds of connections with people. And really, the idea behind an event like FanDome is great because it is inclusive. There are very few barriers to entry, and you cannot say that about San Diego or even events that are around San Diego or like San Diego. So
the only thing you had to make a login for was like if you wanted to make a schedule, and if you didn't care about that, you just had to go to the website and watch the panels.
You didn't even have to do that. If you went to the schedule site, you could add it to like your iCalendar or to your Google Calendar without having to even log in. Yeah, wow. Exactly. But no, I was really pleased with it. I mean, there was the length of time was probably a little bit much because you inevitably get into filler content and you get into a little too much of the corporate speak, and everybody's always excited about everything, even if it's relatively smaller scale, and that can be kind of grating to me personally. But for the stuff that really took much of the attention for this show, this was a great way to connect with people, especially in this environment where connection is kind of at a premium right now.
I don't think me or Lauer could say anything better than that.
No, that's why Chris Clow always has to speak last, because then we sound like idiots. So.
I know. It's like,
it was his best. I had fun.
This was really good comic book stuff, guys.
It was really great comic book stuff.
Great. So, awesome. So
he's on board.
So I won't bury the lead here. Yes. Holy crap. We got a full Batman teaser for Matt Reeves, the Batman, and that's going to be the bulk of the discussion here. But what we're going to do is take a few minutes and talk about the other events and especially the Batman related stuff. And so we'll hit the kind of highlights and before we get into the big Batman discussion. So the first major thing of the day, of course, was the Wonder Woman 1984 panel. It was great to see that. They seem very excited about the film, and of course we got a brand new trailer, and the trailer was amazing. I thought it looks great. This movie has such a cool high concept behind it. We finally got to see Cheetah. I just think it's awesome, and I can't wait for this movie to come out, but I hope I can see it in a theater and safely. That's what I'll say. So did you guys see the Wonder Woman 84 stuff, the new trailer?
Yes, I did. I watched. That was the first thing because I'm excited for that movie. I liked the first trailer, and I've kind of made sure to like limit myself to not really dive into that movie to try and learn anything else about it. I just watched the trailer. I watched a lot. I love the 80s. So of course, like the music for that one and everything was really cool. So
yeah,
that's definitely what I wanted to
really
see today.
Great.
Yeah, and it looks brighter, and I think there's a definite chance that this one, as beloved as the first one is, that this one could top that one for sure. I'm really excited for it, and the panel was, this isn't meant to be anything mean or negative. It didn't give any kind of breathtaking, groundbreaking news or anything, but we got a trailer at the end.
Yeah.
Exactly. We just got to hear from them talk, and a special guest of Linda Carter, and I just thought the trailer was cool, and I'm excited. And the fact that they're going to hold on and have hope that we get to see it in a theater, I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I loved the first movie. I've been very blatant about that. I thought that it did a really effective job in communicating who she is and what she's all about. So as soon as the first trailer for 1984 came out, I was already immensely excited because to me, the first movie was kind of an heir apparent to Richard Donner's Superman. I didn't quite reach that high, but it was going for it, and I really appreciated that. So the fact that they were I wasn't sure about the era, what it was going to bring to the table, and I just shut up because it looks like it's going to be phenomenal. I just get giddy inside when I see her swinging off of lightning bolts. I think that's one of the coolest things I've seen in a trailer in a really long time. And my God, Kristen Wiig as Dr. Minerva and the Cheetah. Great. Comedians have a lot more, like, if they're given the opportunity to do more dramatic work, 9 times out of 10, I find myself impressed. And it looks like she has this kind of fierce dedication to this desire that she has to be an apex predator. And I'm really excited to see how Cheetah shakes out in this, but also, too, Maxwell Lord from one of the coolest actors working today. Yes, please. This looks like it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah. And hopefully we will see it in October in a theater safely. And we'll be seated inside the theater safely. So, yeah. Can't say anything more positive about Wonder Woman. I can't wait for it. The next big thing was something I was looking forward to. And by the way, if you go to BOF, we have I think Bill has put up a big, like on one page, like all the FanDome stuff in a big page. So if there was a quick announcement, he would post it, and some of us, like me included, would write, longer descriptions of some of the panels that would also be on that page. And I did that for this next panel, which was the big video game announcement from Warner Brothers Games Montreal, and we finally got to find out what the heck game they've been working on for the last few years, and it's Gotham Knights, and it looks amazing, and I am super impressed. So just overall, it's like it's not a continuation of the Arkham games. It's not in that universe, but even though some of the story stuff seems like it might be, but it's a Bat Family game that can be played either solo or up to 2-player co-op online, and it features the main core Bat Family members of Nightwing, Batgirl, Tim Drake's Robin, yes, and Red Hood, and it just looks awesome. I can't wait for that game. Literally taking the name Gotham Knights, that's ripped straight out of James Tynion's Detective Comics run, and they're taking a lot of elements from that in the game, like the Belfry is like a big like hub in the city and stuff, and the setup is cool where Bruce Wayne is apparently dead and has left the city for the rest of the Bat Family to take care of, and so you actually have to play as Bat Family members to solve this giant mystery that involves the Court of Owls, but they've said it's not just the Court of Owls, it's deeper than that, and it's cool, and it's coming out next year, hopefully. So what do you guys think? Did you guys watch that stuff? I figured Clow was pretty into figuring out what that game was going to be.
Oh yeah, I was tuned in. Ryan, what did you think? You go first.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot because I got to speak before you.
You don't have to.
No, it will work out much better for me if I speak before you. I was excited for it. I was stoked. It was on one of my must-watch because I thought it was going to be another Batman game, and it was in a way, but in a totally unexpected kind of way. And I loved the trailer that they put together for it, and then the fact that like they were like, hey, somebody's here to talk about it, but here's gameplay footage, and showed that off too, and that was cool. And I like Barbara Gordon's Batgirl a lot, and so the fact that she was kind of the star of the show, and then they brought in kind of like the co-op fighting style that they had in Arkham Knight as well, that I thought was really cool, and that's a favorite feature of mine in that game. So the game overall just looks great and is exciting, and I'm glad that it is not Damian as Robin. It is Thank Tim goodness. Drake.
Yes.
I know that was a hot debate because it was kind of confirmed not long after. And then Ryan Haas saved the day and let me know that I will not have to buy the next-gen system to be able to play that game. So, thank goodness. Because I had to do that for Arkham Knight, and I had to talk to my redheaded lady love, Mira, to buy me a PS4 for my birthday and give it to me 3 months early just so I could play Arkham Knight. And I can't do that again because I still got the PS3 for Arkham Origins, got the PS4 for all the other Arkham Knights games. I can't do another system. but the game
Yeah.
I think looks really cool, and I was kind of bummed that we got to wait until next year because they just don't want us to have anything nice in 2020, I guess.
Next year, if we're lucky, that's what I'm going to say. But like,
Sure.
But I don't think I can understate this. That was probably one of the best announcements for a AAA game I think I've ever seen, because we knew literally nothing about it, and then went from zero to here's the title, here is like a story trailer, so you know the big high concept behind the game, and now here's like 10 minutes of gameplay footage, and here's like the release year. That is unusual, and that's awesome, and it's showing that they waited until they really know what they're making and that it's a solid product before they've like shown anything. So what did you think, Chris?
I was impressed with the amount of material that we got from it. The idea of playing co-op as members of the Bat family is a really great concept. Something that surprised me, and maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to the chatter leading up to it, but I didn't realize that it would be a Batman absent game, or at least initially a Batman absent game.
No, we didn't know that until today. That had never really been part of the discussion, as far as I know.
And that is ambitious, you know? I mean, you have to... Obviously, there's a lot of iconography that comes with members of the Bat family that, you know, they can carry their own material just fine, but it's not common that you see that in an other media exploitation like a video game. You know, usually you need to have some of those anchor characters in and around some of the heavier marketing material, and you have the imagery of Batman, but you don't actually have the character himself. That's a really interesting idea, and the co-op is an intoxicating idea. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I was surprised to see that it was Tim, frankly, just because it seems like so many other media kinds of elements are starting to shift toward Damian, and frankly, the costume design seemed very Damian-like, at least in some of the footage that they showed. But it looks like that's going to be an element of customizability, if I were to guess. So, no, it looks really solid.
Oh man, I bet there was going to be like a 90s Tim Drake skin. Oh my goodness. I mean, Rob Myers is like blowing up right now.
Well, I mean, you look at the philosophy that guided, you know, both Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight when it came to that stuff. It'll be there in some form or another. Whether, you know, Sony pays extra money to get the exclusive rights to it, who knows? That's Ryan, I was going to say, I mean, if you have all these systems, really, man, you need an Xbox. An Xbox One, you can play Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight, and you'll be able to play Gotham Knights
in better quality
on a single system. But my evangelizing is done. No, it looks really cool, and kind of some similarities to Assassin's Creed stuff. I don't want to get too deep into the gaming side of things, but you know, Assassin's Creed Unity wasn't a very well-liked game, but it was certainly ambitious on the co-op front. And if they can pull that off with Batman characters, that'll be a home run as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like it's like overall, like there's a more than a little part of me that has a tinge of disappointment that from both games announcements today, where it was like, oh, we're not getting a new game that we play as Batman in, are we? And this one not being connected to the Arkhamverse, it stings a little bit, but look at what we are getting. Holy crap, it's amazing. Like, oh, I didn't know I wanted this, but I really want this. This is great. Tim Drake, like, as soon as because I tweeted early on and it was like, well, if this Robin better be Tim Drake, and it is, so I'm happy.
Well, it's a little strange too, just because on concept it seems like it would fit after Arkham Knight, except for a couple of details that obviously disqualify it from the timeline.
Yeah, the way that the story trailer started, it makes you think that, and I bet you, I hopefully somebody gets to ask the developers this, but I bet you it started out as a legit Arkham Knight thing, sequel, and they got far enough into development where they were like, you know, let's just make it its own thing. We can have more freedom and stuff. But a lot of those elements stuck around.
Sure. I
bet you that's what's happened. And that's while those latent things are kind of still there. But, you know, enough has changed to where it's its own thing now.
Yeah, makes sense.
So cool. So like we mentioned games, so maybe I'll just jump ahead at the very end of the day. The other big game announcement was getting to see what the heck Rocksteady has been up to, developers of the actual Arkham games, and most recently Arkham Knight 5 years ago in 2015. They're working on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which does take place in the Arkham universe. It is part of the Arkhamverse, and Arkham Knight did hint that the next game could take place in Metropolis and feature Superman. So this game does that. You're playing as the Suicide Squad. You can play it solo. You can play it up to 4 players of 4 members of the Suicide Squad. It's seems to be pretty ambitious. They did not show as much as we saw at Gotham Knights, and it's not even going to come out until 2022 at the earliest. So I thought it's cool. It's a cool idea, but man, it's so far off, and it's not exactly my cup of tea. So I'm happy to just kind of let it sit and wait. I'm glad it's part of the Arkhamverse, so that's my hook. But I didn't know if you guys have any thoughts about that one.
I loved how it started off and showing the long story trailer for it. I think what took the wind out of the sails for me when it said 2022, because I'm just kind of like, oh well, like I kind of don't need to see this right now. I don't need to see stuff so far in advance, and then the rest of that panel.
It's been 5 years. It's been 5 years since we've seen anything from that studio. So I think they're at some sort of breaking point where they're like, we got to
show something, do something. But I mean, for me, it's like I will get excited for it again in a year or a year and a half, because
exactly
that it looks cool now, but then at the end when that 2022 came out, I'm like, oh, it's like so far away that they lost me the rest of the panel, and I was like, okay, well, I can get up and go do whatever now because, this isn't coming anytime soon. I can look up all this stuff later. It all of a sudden wasn't immediate to me.
I wonder, because as far as I know, Microsoft has said this. I don't know if Sony has. That you can, if you're going to release a game within the first 2 years that the new consoles are available, then it has to be compatible with the previous generation. And I wonder if they just wanted this to be a strictly new gen affair, so they have kept it isolated to the more powerful system.
They have enough clout where they probably could have gotten around that, but I bet that could be part of it because I believe that the end it showed the next gen systems, but not the current gen ones, right?
As far as I know, it's not coming to the current gen systems.
Yeah. Whereas Gotham Knights is going to be for everything, which is really smart. So
in the end, for me, that works out more for me because then it's like, oh well, the one that I want to play more out of the two is coming sooner and on a system I already have. So
you're more likely to play the current gen system. Maybe you'll have upgraded by 2022.
Now, what will be awesome, I would like to know, is if Lauer has his PS4 and me and Clow have our PS5s, can we still play together?
That's a good question.
Think about that. We're going to get to play a game like this together. Oh my gosh, my mind's just blown.
Cross-gen crossplay?
Clow, we got to do that.
Yeah. Cross-gen crossover.
We got to play this game together. That's going to be so good.
Ryan was just going to do this because I don't know, we might get in a fight over who we're going to play as. I don't know. Who are you guys going to play as?
Babs. I want Babs.
Of course I want Tim. Of course I want Tim Drake, but you know what? I don't really care. I mean,
I'm Nightwing.
I don't like Red Hood. I don't like Red Hood that much, but whatever. I'm sure the story will force you to be paired up with different people.
No, it's perfect. We all want to play a different character. I would be Nightwing, and Paul Herman will be Red Hood because he loves Jason Todd right now.
He loves Red Hood. Nice.
We're all set. We got our fire team, so to speak.
That's foreshadowing. Anyways.
Anyway, the next big panel was the Suicide Squad. We got to see a whole lot of stuff from James Gunn and the cast. We finally got to figure out and find out who most all the actors are playing. So we get crazy. We get your classic Harley Quinn and Captain Boomerang, but we also get Polka Dot Man and stuff. And the movie looks awesome. It's cool. It looks super inspired by that, one of those original Ostrander runs, and it's wacky. It's fun. I mean, I'm excited about it, but what do you guys think?
So I got to write this one up for BOF on BOF proper, and this was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I'm not that I came into it thinking well, this is going to be crap, but it was just kind of fun how it opened up with Gunn just kind of talking about the movie and saying really positive things, which of course somebody's going to say positive things, but he just seemed really genuine about his excitement and the positivity about the movie. And then he answered some questions, which through that he helped say John Ostrander's run of the comics. Mm-hmm. That serves as that's the blood in the movie. That served as the basis, and he wants to fit that mood and stuff. And he had Ostrander on the set and said that, like, I want to play this movie kind of like it's a sequel to your stuff. So, I mean, that was really cool. And then, yeah, we finally got to find out who everybody's playing, which half of them, I don't know who that is.
That means they're not going to make it.
Exactly. Harley Quinn is a safe bet. She will survive. And that's the only person I'd bet money on. But, yeah, then he brought on all the cast. They had some good camaraderie there. And then the behind-the-scenes video, which is available online now, showing at the end, was really cool behind-the-scenes stuff. And, I mean, I'm real excited for the movie. We have to wait for 357 days, but, I mean, that's less than a year. And that was a pretty cool panel.
Yeah. Really, I can't remember if I told you guys this, but after Shazam came out, it seemed like the most perfect illustrative moment that could have been depicted in that movie happened when you had this kid playing with a Batman and Superman figure, and all of a sudden when Dr. Sivana and Shazam are fighting outside of his window, he just drops those toys to the floor and looks out his window at what's happening. And really, that's kind of illustrative of what's going on with the DC movies at the moment, where you have these other characters that are kind of wagging the dog over there at DC Films, for at least right now. And this movie takes that to a whole other level, just because of the depth that Gunn is pushing when it comes to the characters that he's using. Blackguard. I mean, Bloodsport is a Superman villain. I never really expected a Superman villain to show up.
Gal. Like, holy crap, that's awesome.
That's nuts. And you have another version of the Ratcatcher. I never thought I'd see
Ratcatcher 2. And they're calling her Ratcatcher 2 in the movie. That's amazing.
So where's Otis at? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Maybe they'll get like a flashback or something.
Excuse me, I can't follow the steps of Ratcatcher 2 if I don't know what happened to Ratcatcher, so please inform me.
There's got to be jokes about it too. Like, it's going to be good.
But I mean, Weasel and King Shark and Savant, and you've got Peacemaker as a douchey Captain America, I think what John Cena said.
That's what he said.
Yeah, and Flula Borg is the Javelin, but you also have the ones that we know that did an awesome job in the Suicide Squad movie with Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, and Viola Davis. I mean, the fact that and Jai Courtney, of course.
Jai Courtney, yeah. And
the fact that we get Waller back and Rick Flag back, I mean, those were the characters that... I mean, I loved Will Smith as Deadshot. Maybe I was a minority in that, but I thought that he was really solid as Deadshot.
I liked him.
He was good.
So it's kind of a bummer not to see Deadshot in a new Suicide Squad movie, but the fact that it's going to the depths that it is, and Gunn will make those characters accessible, but they're there for people like us who know the material as well as we do. It's really exciting, although we still don't know who the hell Taika Waititi's playing, and... I would like to. Just saying.
Batmite.
Well, didn't Gunn said something about one of the actors on there? He said this is like the on screen or in studio or something like that, which kind of implied he's not the one. Like, I don't know. It just seemed weird of like, this is when Margot's on, this is Harley Quinn. Idris Elba's on, he got to this guy and he's like, this is the...
Was it for King Shark?
Yeah, for King Shark.
Well, that makes sense because he's like a CG dude. It's like in Doom Patrol where they have like Brendan Fraser do the voice and then somebody else is the on-set guy, and same thing with Negative Man.
Yeah, and like so then when I went to the IMDb cast as it was on to see who was on there, I saw Taika Waititi's on there, so
maybe he's King Shark. I don't know.
Hey, you know what would be wild is if Taika Waititi is playing Tom Kalmaku again, and it brings the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie into the DCEU. Ooh,
it's the multiverse. It is. We're playing with the multiverse.
Oh boy, yeah.
Well, speaking of the multiverse, the next big thing was the Flash panel where they got to talk about the Flash a little bit, and of course we're talking about the Flash because we get two Batmen in the at least two Batmen in the Flash, and we got some really and we got some. We know it's going to start with Affleck's Batman. Affleck's coming back. Like, didn't think that would happen, but boy, it is. And then they showed some concept art where we got to see Flash's new costume, or what they're envisioning Flash's new costume to be, probably to help him traverse through time. They said Batman helps him make it, and I assume that's Affleck's Batman to help him travel through time, and that would make sense because of the things that have happened in the other movies. Like, that could be kind of a cool connection. Like, hey, this weird stuff that was unexplained in BVS, like when Nightmare stuff happened, and now we can actually connect it and make it do something in Flashpoint. I think that could be cool if they actually go there, which they definitely could. But in that concept art, it showed Michael Keaton's Batman like fighting with them, and it looked awesome. So that, I mean, of course, like, yeah, it's a Flash movie, but it's got at least 2 Batmen in it. So I'm so excited for that movie. They got me.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued on what this movie. They're kind of going nuts, and come on, let's get nuts with this movie, and I'm excited for it. And that image that they released was all for Peter Vera of #YellowOval.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was totally 89 Batman. And so I didn't expect, I mean, I was just crossing my fingers hoping that we just got like some, basically what they showed us, but I expected a fraction of what they showed us even. So that was really cool. And then they spoke pretty fondly of, the movie and stuff like that. And I mean, it was cool. It was fun for 10 minutes for a movie that hasn't even started filming. I didn't expect much. And yeah, they made use of their time for like 10 minutes that it was or something. It was really fun and even got us a little bit more hyped for it.
Yeah.
I have so many different emotions and feelings when it comes to what's going on here because I'm thrilled about the ambition. I'm thrilled about the idea that it's bringing in multiple versions of Batman. I'm thrilled that Affleck is going to get hopefully a finale that he deserves. And the idea of, because I read the interview with Andy Muschietti where they announced the Affleck inclusion, and it does make sense that you start there because that's the Bruce Wayne that this version of Barry Allen knows.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I am such a strong believer in what the Flash brings to the table. I mean, really, the Flash should have had a movie 10 years ago, if not longer. He's that much of a pivotal character to the entire makeup of what we understand to be the DC universe that I'm a little bit weirded out by the idea of this being a Flash Batman movie as opposed to just a Flash movie. But also too, everything that they're trying to play with in this just seems really solid. The concept art for the new costume looks pitch perfect from my estimation. And the idea of using this as a springboard to incorporate elements that we know the Flash brings to the table in comics and also on television into the movie version of the universe, that's really exciting to me as a DC Comics fan. So this looks really great. It looks really ambitious. I'm going to be thrilled to see the versions of Batman that show up and that we're going to see Ezra Miller as the Flash again because I enjoyed what we've seen of him before. Was hoping we'd get a more solo Flash movie out of it, but beggars can't be choosers. And as someone who's wanted a Flash movie for as long as I can remember, this definitely looks like it's going to be memorable. And I'm hopeful that they're going to pull it off. I'm sure they're going to. It looks phenomenal.
Yeah, like we could have gotten like a Flash Year 1 movie or something before this would make sense, but we kind of almost got at least we got little nuggets of it in Justice League, and we'll see a little bit more in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I think the linchpin is going to be, as long as the stuff that happens, the crazy, wacky multiverse stuff that happens in the movie is all in service to the Flash and his story, I think they'll have a winner on their hands. And I think and that's kind of what Flashpoint as an idea in the comics did itself. And I think that's not lost on the filmmakers, because Flashpoint in the comics, its overall purpose was to reset the whole dang universe and change stuff, but its emotional core was super rooted in the Flash, and I think that it seems like that they are definitely taking that to heart and making this version of the film.
And let's not pretend either, too, that people haven't watched the TV show, and the TV show has delved into the origins of Barry Allen very significantly.
Oh, yeah.
It's not too unlike the idea that drove Mark Webb. Well, no, Mark Webb's a bad example, but like MCU Spider-Man, they're not spending a lot of time on his origin because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves isn't going to spend a lot of time on Batman's origin because everybody knows it. And really, a lot of people know Barry Allen's origin. So why tread that water again? It's an efficient way to move forward, and I appreciate that.
And to kind of backpack on that, also, My Mira is my test of the general audience, and she watches the Flash TV series, so I was able to tell her of the plans for this Flash movie, and I said multiverse, and she was like, yeah, I know what that is. So that's like,
nice.
The TV show has helped people and fans understand what multiverse is.
Acclimate
and like,
to that, yeah.
Yeah, different things like that happening. So kind of going with like what Chris said of, we don't need the Barry Allen origin because there's a ton of fans that know the origin now. It's almost like we don't need to spend so much time on explaining what a multiverse is because the TV show has helped that. Granted, a TV show's audience is smaller, like the CW audience is smaller than general audience on movies, but it's really helped complement each other.
Right,
you know?
right.
My teenage niece knows the origin of Barry Allen now, all because she just thought Grant Gustin was cute. And what did it lead to? Knowledge of the Flash.
There you go. Well, so that's cool. So I can't wait for that movie to actually start filming so we can start seeing, like,
Stills.
Oh my God, stills, like Keaton's back.
Keaton.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, do you think that he's going to love the shoes as much this time as he did last time? Or are they hopefully just going to make the entire costume more comfortable? I hope it's more comfortable.
Oh, it's going to have to be.
It's going to have to. Maybe he'll be able to turn his head this time. Who knows?
Yeah. No, they got it. No way. They got to keep the bat turn. They got to keep it. They got to keep it in there so like he can still move like Keaton's Batman. No, they got to. I don't know. We'll see. But that, I'm very interested to see what
I
they
hope
do.
he called the costume designer and said, get Nike for the shoes.
Yeah, I was telling our text thread today, I was like, dude, like if this multiverse gets reset, things get changed, like bring back Max Schreck, bring back freaking DeVito's Penguin, bring back all of them, and it'll be amazing. So moving on, we talked, I mentioned the Snyder Cut very briefly when we were talking about The Flash, and so there was a whole Snyder Cut panel, and there was a trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League. What are they calling it? They're calling it the Director's Cut of Justice League, I think is the current title of it. So that was cool. It was a cool trailer. To me, that trailer felt like it was, if you had never heard of Justice League and had never seen it, I don't think that trailer was for you. No. I think that trailer only kind of served the people who know what this version of the movie has to offer, and so you can pick out the differences and know that it's coming and be excited about it. Like I don't think I could show that trailer to like Joe guy off the street and be like, and him get it as much as like it didn't seem built to be like a theatrical trailer. It was like a fan focused trailer, which is not a bad thing because that's what this whole movement has kind of done. So it was cool. It has cool implications. Like some of the scenes, like they straight up showed what's going to happen to Silas Stone in this version of the movie, which is wildly different than the theatrical version, as is so many other things. I thought Steppenwolf looked kind of amazing, like compared to the theatrical. So there's some cool stuff there. But I don't want to talk too much about it. What do you guys think?
I think you phrased that well. Of everybody watching today knows the story of Justice League, so therefore I feel like that's who Zack Snyder had in mind for this trailer. Everybody knows what this movie is kind of, what my original vision was supposed to be about and include. So let's not waste any time and open it up with a shot of Darkseid. Let's show my version of Steppenwolf, and like there was a lot of stuff in there that I feel like we had seen in deleted scenes and stuff, and the previous trailers when the movie had its original build up for release. So I thought, like, I don't know, it was fine. I'm looking forward to watching the thing. That's not it at all. It's just overall the trailer today and seeing it, it's kind of like, okay.
And it's going to be 4 hours, 4 1-hour episodes. Yeah.
With a work or they're working on some kind of distribution in theaters. So I don't know which way I'd prefer. I'm going to watch it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm one who loves Batman vs Superman. And I love Man of Steel. So continuing that, I'll be there as soon as it's available to watch. I'll be watching it. But the trailer today was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I had similar feelings just because, well, I have never criticized Zack Snyder's ability to make a good trailer, and I have never criticized his acumen visually. behind the camera.
Oh, yeah.
My problems with his movies are far from compositional. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
That being said, he has struggled in the past with runtimes. His movies can be a little unwieldy, and sometimes that leads to the story coherency suffering. In terms of his DC output, Man of Steel is probably the most streamlined of the movies that he's released thus far, and that includes, Watchmen as well. But no, you guys, I have nothing really to add. I mean, it's in terms of the trailer, it seems like it was designed for people to remind them of some of the stuff that you saw in the original trailers for Justice League that obviously didn't make it into the theatrical cut, and then some stuff to adjust your perceptions of the tone in comparison with the theatrical version. But in terms of this as a Zack Snyder trailer, I don't know if I'd place it in the same league as the later Man of Steel or the BVS trailers, because those trailers were really great.
Yeah, the Man of Steel ones.
And this one just kind of went like, okay, yeah, so it's it looks like it's going to be what we were sold the first time around in terms of what we were being shown for the ultimate release. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but a longer format will be great for him, because that will give his material room to breathe, which he has needed. So I think that that'll ultimately serve whatever the ultimate intent of the Snyder Cut of Justice League is going to be. So I'm interested in it. I'm obviously going to watch it. HBO Max is a subscription that comes with my internet service since it's Comcast. Right. So it'll be something I'll be happy to absorb, especially because as DC fans, it seems like DC fans get this more in cinematic history than a lot of other segments of movie fans, because we saw this before with Superman 2, obviously similar, but the products that resulted were pretty different. But it's the same kind of conception in terms of a director getting to restore his original vision. And in that sense, this is historic, so it's absolutely going to be worth watching.
For real. Cool. So I want to just ask a small general question before we get into the Batman panel. Were there any other panels that stood out to you or you watched or you want to bring up?
Shazam, just really quickly, was a lot of fun. Just
Sinbad's going to be in it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Sinbad's going deep with the joke on how everybody thought I was in the first Shazam because I was in a movie called Kazam. That wasn't me. And the whole thing was just funny because I really thought, I'm like, what would they do? And then at the end they released the title of the second movie, which was everybody's face is furry or something like that, So that was that one was fun. I don't really have anything else to say other than just it was fun.
Yeah, I appreciated the conversation between James Wan and Patrick Wilson about some of the stuff that they did on Aquaman. I thought Aquaman was a really solid movie, so the more stuff that I get to see about how that particular element of the world was created is always going to be a positive in my book. And it was a really interesting sort of dive into the cosmology of that side of the DCEU, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from that side of things.
Nice. Yeah, cool. So
not enough Superman though in the whole event. Should have had more Superman.
My gosh. Yeah. Well, and we got up the Black Adam panel too, and for the film, another like The Flash, or for another film that's not filming yet, they certainly sold me on it, and The Rock is going to be awesome in that. And we're going to get Hawkman too. So that's a cool hook.
Black Adam, especially in the mid to late 2000s, was one of DC's absolutely coolest characters. So if that stuff kind of informs what they're doing in the movie, which it looks like it's going to do, that's definitely one to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So let's get into the Batman panel. So I took some quick notes here. Maybe I'll just read through them. So it was kind of two parts. We got Matt Reeves talking about with Aisha Tyler about the film, about his approach, and answered some fan questions. And then he dropped a full-on boom trailer. And I thought, obviously they saved the best for last. Everything looks so good. Everything looks so fully realized. Just like we were talking earlier about the Gotham Knights thing. It was we've talked for a while about how long it's taken to get this to this point in this film's, production. But man, all of the pre-production stuff they've done, how long it took to get the script done and all that stuff, really feels to me like it's paid off, because this thing looks, they know what they're doing, right? So Matt Reeves was very excited. He was probably really excited because they were actually letting him talk about the movie. And so he got to reveal stuff. And there's so many good tidbits that he just revealed. Like Batman isn't having the effect on Gotham he wants. There's a series of murders that expose the history of Gotham. It's not really an origin story, but it touches on it, and it's part of the story. I mean, there's an epic history of corruption in Gotham, and he even hinted that maybe the Waynes might be involved in it, and that made me worried for Ryan Lauer, because he doesn't like it when people mess with Thomas Wayne. Selina isn't Catwoman yet. Oswald isn't the Penguin yet. The Riddler is just emerging. Matt Reeves described the movie as the whole movie is like a snowball rolling, which is great. You know, like I feel like a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies feel like that, and I love that term. And you know, to me, snowball rolling could also equal, you know, emotional roller coaster. So hopefully that's what that means. That's what you kind of want to go through when you watch a movie like this. He even talked about the Gotham PD series and how it's going to go into deeper aspects that get brought out from the film. And I think he said it was going to go back to year one, maybe, to dig into the Gotham corruption. And speaking of year one, he did confirm that the film is year two of Batman's career. The Batsuit, as we've all guessed, is very practical, self-made, still evolving. And Gotham is Liverpool with CG enhancements, which is it's something that hasn't been done to this level. I think that's going to give it an interesting look. Batman himself and the idea of the Batman is a growing legend. He talked about Pattinson having the soul of someone who can play Batman. It's not an origin story, but he grows and makes mistakes as Batman. He's human and flawed. He wants to make the audience feel the way that Bruce and Batman feels. Matt Reeves even brought up Darwin Cook's ego in terms of Batman confronting the shadow side of himself, and that story is something that Bill even reported on way back when as a story that Matt Reeves was looking at and inspired by when he was making the script. And the last major thing he brought up was that some film inspirations for this would be like Chinatown, The French Connection, and Taxi Driver. So, do you guys have any thoughts on like the panel part of it before we get into the trailer?
Yes, actually, I would like to say that Thomas Wayne is a hero to Gotham City. He's somebody that you should look up to. So no, I don't like it when people mess with that. So whatever. I did like that he kind of said the year two angle aspect, because I felt from the beginning when we did the camera test was revealed, and there was quite a lot of criticism on the suit and the cowl and stuff like that, and I just kind of thought,
it's not the comics. Like
it gives it. Well, first of all, I liked it fine. It was good, and I said we haven't seen it in full context yet. And also, what if this? I just posed the question of like, what if this is earlier on, and like it gives them someplace to go. It gives Reeves someplace to go, and with like that means with the suit, so it's a homemade suit, you know. Well, then it's a trial and error process. He's gonna, you know, damage himself, just like the transition in Batman Begins and TDK. The suits of Bruce is like, you know, this is kind of faulty in this regard, so then they improve it in a new suit. So it wouldn't surprise me that by the end of the movie or in the second Reeves movie that there's a new suit. And so I was never bothered by it, and partly because I just liked the suit as it looked anyway. But I loved how, as you said, the snowball of movie, and how Selina Kyle is not Catwoman. That's part of this story. And Oswald does not like being called Penguin. Like, that is the story. And the Riddler is just this... he is not fully developed Riddler. It's like, that's the process. And like, you again, the snowball effect, the building momentum. Can you imagine what will be like in the movie, just feeling as we're watching it, just it's building of like, man, like he was so passionate and excited and talking about the movie, which was really cool to see. It seemed extremely genuine. And Aisha Tyler, God love her, I think she tried, but I think she's kind of like, like I didn't do enough research on Batman for because he is throwing stuff at me, and she's like, I'm being polite and I'm trying, but man, Matt Reeves, he is the right guy just on that. Not even getting to what's next. The right guy behind the camera and behind
it is clear.
the script.
it is clear that they are building a franchise that to last here.
Yep.
It's not just a movie. It's a TV series. It's something that they clearly want to go on and have a place to go over years.
Yep.
Yeah. In terms of just the inspirational elements for the construction of the characters, I could not have written a better speech for Matt Reeves myself. I mean, he did a really great job of emphasizing not only what he was looking at in terms of the source material, but also the other cinematic inspirations that he's bringing into the fold. I loved the fact that he cited Ego as a primary inspiration for at least the tone of what he's going for and how to explore the psyche of this very complicated and pretty dark personality, all things considered. The thing that I think I was struck by a little bit more than the character work, almost just because I was expecting depth of the character work, and what I was not expecting was the degree to which he would describe Gotham as a character unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of trying to make it a city like you haven't seen before, but that still has a visual language that seems familiar to us as fans of the comics, by citing the Gothic architecture of Liverpool and basically building a modern city around that. That is Gotham City. There are these long-standing old buildings that are inspired with Gothic architecture, and what was Anton First that said a city burst up from hell all around that stuff?
Yeah, hell erupts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea of having that modern city aesthetic with the Gothic architecture around it that just kind of preserves that dark soul of Gotham is really cool. But also, too, the way that the city and the citizenry in the city perceive him. Because we get a little bit of that in the Nolan movies, but Nolan's movies moved pretty quickly into Batman as a symbol of hope. I mean, it was the subversion of a symbol of hope that defined the end of The Dark Knight, right? And that kind of defined the beginning of The Dark Knight Rises, is that this is a guy who went off script and he killed Harvey Dent, and we are crushed by that. By delving deeper into the idea of, I mean, what would you feel like if you heard that there was a guy dressing up like a bat and beating up criminals around your city? You would be terrified, you know? I mean, you see stories on the news now about something that happens that's relatively isolated in a city neighborhood, but it instills an abundance of fear throughout that entire city. And the story of Batman would probably inspire something like that. But also, too, I mean, and we'll get into the specifics of the trailer, but the relationship between Batman and Gordon looks really interesting.
Yes, it
and
does.
The emphasis on the detective, he's right. That's something that we don't really see a whole lot of. Nolan did a pretty decent job with the time that he had. We got to see an investigative element to Batman that had not been portrayed before. But if you're going to actually make a detective movie where the core detective wears a cape and cowl, that's something that there's definitely room to explore, and that really excites me.
Yeah. So let's get into the trailer. It's 2 minutes. They said in the panel that they're only 25% of the way done filming, but if you hadn't have told me that, you would not know that based on this trailer. This is a fully formed, legit trailer that has you get a lot out of. And we see so many characters, so many things. It's one of those things where I'm watching this and I feel like I'm part of the world already. I'm already lost in this version of the characters. And it's one of those things where I feel like when I'm watching this movie, I'm going to probably at times forget I'm watching a Batman movie, which I think is a good thing. Because it takes, you watch the trailer for a few minutes, it takes you a few minutes to be like, oh, that's the Riddler. Oh, that's the Penguin. You know, like, so I just want to shut up and listen to you guys talk about it for a second. But I thought this trailer was just amazing.
Oh my God! Like, holy hell. I wasn't, you know, like there's so many words and only one mouth, but damn, I didn't expect a 2 minute thing. And like you said, if we'd have not known, we would not have guessed that a quarter of this movie is finished and that's it. You know, like, holy shit! Like, I had no idea that Colin Farrell was in this trailer. I had wondered, who's this guy that they focused on? And then I was scrolling through Twitter, waiting for us to record, that somebody pointed out.
That's him. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, we heard for a long
Unrecognizable.
time that he was going to be unrecognizable, but
Yeah,
he
and
is
then
damn unrecognizable.
I still don't know who the guy is with the beard, and Gordon standing behind him, but we won't focus on that. I just thought, first of all, the music was chilling. The way it opened was chilling. Like, using Giacchino's score at the, for the beats and moving it along. Like, I'm an editor. That's my job at work, is editing. And so we pick up on the smallest things, but it's like, this is the freaking thing that you kind of aspire to do. Like,
and I hope that's reflected in the film too, right? Like those 3-note bum 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 bum, like that theme.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe that's going to be something in the film where they can play all these different ways.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was dark, and that's my preference of Batman. Batman is dark, and Batman is a love of my life. Mira knows she's battling it out with him as my number one love every single day. Today he wins, and like Batman, I audibly let out an oh shit when we got to see him punch the guy out, and the way that it cuts to that 3 seconds prior. Confident crowd of like gangster wannabes. He
and then they're scared
guy.
to
they
death.
Cut back, and the one dude looks like he's crying. He's so like scared, and it's just like,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Look at him. Look at him before. Yeah, they're that was like probably the most not poignant, but like the most shocking scene in the whole trailer, right? And I think that you can show somebody that, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's the tone of this movie." Like these thugs, these criminals are just like. And one of them is filming it with an iPhone, right? Like they're filming this happen almost like haha, we're gonna get this. This is gonna be cool. We're gonna post this, and so it turns into a cool thing, into like a oh shit, we are scared to death of what this guy's doing.
They're doing his job for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the
growing the legend of Batman. Yeah.
The shots that they included where it seems like Batman is working extremely close with the GCPD, not just Gordon, like the GCPD was cool and interesting, and like. It's no surprise that they made this the main event, because what could possibly follow that up, you know?
Yeah. Chris.
Bring it home, Chris.
Exactly. That's why I had to go before you, especially now, because you heard me.
No, man. Yeah, I think you did a really concise job of illustrating it. I mean,
thanks.
I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I mean, I've been excited for this movie since it was announced. Matt Reeves is a really exciting director. Pattinson is an inspired choice. The thing that turned me over into more, I guess, blatant excitement was the casting of Jeffrey Wright, because I don't know if you can get a better possible personality to try and encompass what Jim Gordon is supposed to represent in the best Batman stories for Gotham City and for Bruce Wayne. Even if Gordon doesn't know it's Bruce Wayne. But this looks like it feels dangerous. You know, I mean, there's an element of danger to it, and it's amazing that this is like less than a third completed, right? Because the tone and that feeling of dangerousness permeates every single second of this trailer.
Well, I mean, and that's something that Reeves brought up, is that how they're trying to make it grounded and realistic and all the same things you would hear for a Nolan movie, but that reinterpreted here feels totally different and dangerous, like you said. Like, you're not going to have superpowers to save you here, you know?
Well, and I mean, the reinforcement of the formidability is something that, honestly, I mean, it's something that BVS probably innovated when it comes, I mean, with the Nolan films, the fight scenes were always like distracting in a way. I mean, they were effective, and he wasn't dancing, right? So that's one of the key lines that Ra's al Ghul says to him in Batman Begins. This is not a dance. And you get that element, and you just have the effectiveness. I mean, he drops pretty much everybody that he fights until he reaches Bane in the third movie. You know, I mean, the Joker throws some dogs on him, which throws him off, of course. But by and large, outside of Bane, Batman was never he never worked for it. And by seeing him work for it, I love in that moment in the trailer specifically, the composition is someone throws out a retort that's trying to cast doubt on this ridiculous looking guy, and he doesn't say anything. And then he just kicks the living crap out of this guy, and then he says the Batman line.
It's
right?
almost like a meta commentary on people's opinions on what this movie should and could be too, in my opinion. Like,
sure,
you watch that and you're like, oh, okay, I'll shut up now. I think I'm ready for this movie. You know what I mean? At least that's how I'm kind of feeling about it when I got to that part.
Right. So when you look at sort of the evolution of Batman in the presentation of his formidability, in the Nolan years, it was just all about effectiveness. He got to the point and he finished it right on the line. In the Snyder films where you've seen Batman fight, it's all about that kind of unhinged brutality in an extra real world, right? The DCEU as envisioned by Zack Snyder is not quite as realistic a place as envisioned by Nolan. So you see the craziness of him shooting the grapnel gun and throwing a crate over his head to knock someone against a wall, right? With this, it's an evolution that is on a similar track, but it melds the brutality that you saw in the Snyder films with the realism that you saw in the Nolan films to make something that still manages to feel unique and still manages to feel truthful. So,
yeah, like that one little shot where, like the scene that we just talked about where people get shocked that he's like scared of him when he's beating the guy up. But then there's one little snippet in the trailer where somebody like shoots Batman point blank, and he like winces, but he keeps going, and they seem like shocked and horrified of it.
That he's
like,
still coming.
What was that?
That he's still coming.
He's still coming. Yeah,
you
the Batman
can't
is
stop
coming.
him
So
that way.
so yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff that I think is hitting the nail on the head of what you're saying, Chris. Is like all those things. It's almost like a weird combination of both, but that's its own thing. Yeah.
But then in terms of the dangerousness, he's confronted with something, at least it looks like, based on what we've seen in this, that is not a problem you can punch your way out of, right?
Yeah.
So another extraordinarily encouraging thing that Reeves talked about was the emphasis on the detective element. And when you have that kind of hook, that kind of MacGuffin from someone who's trying to play with Batman, and come at him in a way that he can't respond in a conventional physical form. He has to put his mind to the test. And you got all of those impressions within 2 minutes. And, but also too, I mean, Pattinson, I just, one of the things, and I shared something on Twitter the other day that was a quote from Epilogue, because I still think that that's one of the most important and foundational elements to Batman's psyche, is that at his root, when you get past the brutality, when you get past the physical skill, he still is a guy who has compassion, because he wants to make his city and he wants to make the world a better place. And at least in the comics, I don't know what this movie's going to do yet, but at least in the comics, he illustrates that by refusing to take a life. And I really appreciated that out of costume, one of the moments we get is just Bruce Wayne saving somebody, because really the hero element of the superhero should never be overlooked.
That's a great point.
By at least giving an indication that is something that's going to be present, whether he's in the mask or not, to me is really encouraging.
And I hadn't considered that, Chris, but you bring that up. It's great that there is that contrast of him saving somebody as Bruce Wayne and beating the crap out of somebody as Batman, because you don't know in the trailer, like, did he just beat that guy to death or is he just knocked out? You know what I mean? So I'm sure that debate will rage on, like, oh, is Batman going to kill people in this movie? Oh, So, but the fact that they do, show him being heroic and saving somebody legitimately in this trailer, I think is already a pretty good and interesting indicator of where he is.
The crazy, intense brands of violence all has its place. And I'm not a prude. I appreciate a well-constructed scene of violence just as much as anybody does. I mean, my wife even mentioned it to me after she watched the trailer, is that looks kind of like a Joker-style movie, but with Batman. And I said, well, that's automatically going to make it better because you have an actual protagonist, right? You have a hero. I mean, I like Joker. I think it's a solid movie. But just in terms of the fact that this is a movie that features a hero, you shouldn't lose sight of the hero part of superhero. And this trailer gives me enough of an inkling that that's something that's going to be represented, that when you throw in the brutality and the detective elements and the darkness of the atmosphere, but you also have the hero, that to me is what makes a solid Batman story.
Yeah.
All of those things together work in this harmonious darkness that also tends to have an element of light to it that is uniquely Batman, that you cannot get with other superheroes. And it looks like Matt Reeves understands that.
Well, dang it. I don't know, Lauer. Do you want to follow that up?
No.
I was going to say, boy, I like the way that the A at the end in Batman looks like Batman's ears.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Well,
gonna
hey,
say.
I mean, just in terms, and I said this to you guys off mic, right? But the fact that they were including a Nirvana song in there and combining that with a really awesome looking Batman movie, it's almost like it was made just for me. That's what it felt like. And I'm sure a lot of fans feel that way. I'm not trying to take ownership away from anybody because we're all in this awesome journey together.
Yeah.
This is going to be a hell of a ride up until the point that this movie is released for all of us. But the fact that they tossed my favorite band in there is just icing on the cake.
Well, I think we can probably say that everything that Matt Reeves releases himself is on purpose, and like it is not a mistake. He knows what he's doing. And so remember when he tweeted out that the Batman has started filming and it was a slate in that office chair, which is what the trailer opens up on, and then also the text was red with almost, maybe it was like a black outline of the Batman.
And those
two
red and black
colors-
shots are in the trailer too. It's not just like a marketing thing.
That's their color, and like that's like this is like completely nerdy, but almost like the sleekest combination of colors period is red and black. I love the combination of red and black and how that looks. And
as a
really
Virtual Boy fan, I will
benefits-
not argue with you.
It really just like helps create a mood. You know, bring in that mood of Batman. Like I said before, Dark Batman is my favorite Batman. Moody Batman is my Batman. And you can see some of like the aesthetic of this world that Reeves just teased us with is kind of a dark, moody, and gothic kind of Batman. And it's like, man, that was my introduction to Batman. So I have a fondness with those, like the trifecta of Batman almost, you know? And those are like three things I got out of this little 2 minutes of footage that, you know what? They don't need to release anything else. Butts will be in seats pending theaters being open. But man, that was, ugh.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
I didn't word it as well as Chris Clow, but you know, I'm in the ballpark. So
no, man, we're all in. The great thing about this, I mean, is that we're all in this together at the same time, and there is no feeling in fandom, at least as far as I know, and I'm part of a fair amount of fandoms, but there's nothing like the lead up to a Batman movie, especially when it looks like that Batman movie is going to kick some serious ass.
Yeah, I really hope that this, and you know what, as long as people aren't acting like douchebags, I totally am A-okay with people questioning, I don't know how I feel about this or something. Even one saying like, I don't like the cowl that I saw in the camera test. I don't like the Batmobile.
Right.
Like, if they're respectful about it, then sure, absolutely. That is completely fine. I hope for their sake because they're Batman
And I don't think
fans.
those things have been unintentional either, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Like, they all need to come together. And at least in this trailer, I think a lot of those elements are coming together.
Yeah, I really hope for their sake because they're Batman fans that like this helped move the needle. Like I wasn't loving what I've been seeing, but this trailer has sold me. I've gotten to see some moving parts because we haven't seen moving parts yet, and so like we got to see stuff. Reeves's vision. We got to see a little snippet, and I'll be surprised if nothing's unanimous. But if it's not like 96.9% of everybody is agreeing that like, wow, this looks really good.
Well, and I think we should talk a little bit too about the fact that today has finally absolutely confirmed that this is an isolated universe. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I know that has been in the ether for a while, but I was waiting for official confirmation for that to be the case. And on the one hand, like when I first heard, because they mentioned it during the earlier DC Films panel where Walter Hamada was talking about how this is a year 2 Batman and it doesn't have to cross over with the DCEU Justice League stuff. And at first I was like, oh. But then at the same time, too, you have to think about the integrity of the Vision, and if the Vision is strong enough to warrant its own exploitation on film. And even with only 2 minutes and with some words from the director, it sounds like it is.
Yeah,
you know,
and they're going to have their cake and eat it too. We're going to get Keaton's Batman in the main continuity too. So it's like we don't even have to. And in the past, you would have to choose. You would have to be like, oh, well, is this connected or not? And that's the only Batman. You only get one cinematic Batman on screen at a time. But now we're going to get like 3 or more.
Well, and I like the approach too, just because everybody here obviously knows, and probably the majority of people that listen to the BOF podcast know, that a significant portion, maybe an overwhelming portion of Batman fandom prefers their stories to be Batman only. I love Batman only stories, but I also enjoy stories where he's able to be incorporated into the wider DC universe. But the fact that the films are now taking the approach that you can have it all is really, really encouraging. And the fact that you can have that solo, isolated, early years Batman that a lot of people believe to be the pinnacle Batman, pushing that forward in its own film franchise while still keeping the door open for other kinds of instances where Batman can show up in other elements of the DC universe is a really cool approach. And it's a way that can give everybody something that they probably want out of Batman. And just as a fan who enjoys the idea of consuming that kind of material on the terms that I prefer, and I think most fans are that way, that's an encouraging development out of all of this.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's going to make, so I've said before, I've tried to temper my expectations about this movie, as excited as I am for it, but now that this trailer is out, this
didn't help.
It's all over now. It's all over now because they did, that was way better than anything that I could have expected to get out of this. Not just like, oh, it was cool, but now I'm sold on the concept and what they are doing with this.
Well, we knew it was coming, right? I mean, as soon as they showed us something, with all of the anticipation that's been behind this and all of the words can only take you so far when it comes to understanding what an artistic intent is going to be. And the fact that we finally got our first little bite-sized glimpse of everything that this world could potentially offer, and not just in a single movie, mind you, but also in an HBO Max series that just sounds extraordinarily ambitious and just really strong. And as a fan of Gotham Central, that's extremely exciting to me, especially if we get more Jeffrey Wright as Gordon. Yes, please. But you guys said it earlier yourselves that this looks like it's something that they're building for the long haul. They're doing the strong foundational work now so that it can fuel those kinds of other exploitations. But really, I mean, as soon as we were going to get a glimpse, the excitement was always going to hit a fever pitch. And it was up to the filmmakers in the studio to get us excited about the concept. And I'm more excited about this movie. Really, I haven't been this excited for a new Batman movie. And it's just, we've seen this, for an hour and a half? I haven't been this excited about a Batman movie since the Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah, and that's a long time ago now. Me too.
And I didn't really expect it to happen either. I was like, well, how can...
And that's the best.
How
when
could
it's blindsiding.
Yeah, because for years I'm like, well, anything after the Dark Knight trilogy is just cake, and seeing Affleck as Batman was cool, but it wasn't a solo Batman movie, and that was always my thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, we got that, but where's my solo Batman movie directed by?
And I'm fine eating some crow because Bill asked me to write an op-ed. This is several years ago now, but I wrote an op-ed about "Don't Chase the Dragon." That was the title of it, where I tried to say, look, the Dark Knight trilogy did the solo gritty Batman. Let's have something that's a little bit more representative of the comics and of other characters like Robin and Nightwing and the extended family. that was totally absent, obviously, of seeing what this was going to go for and seeing the strength of the concept on its own. And if this is what we're going to get, and if we can keep getting this on a consistent basis, because this is part 1 of 3, as far as I understand.
At least, yeah.
I'm fine with it. I can wait a little bit longer if what we're going to get up front looks this good. I still want more from Superman, but in terms of Batman, this looks really solid.
Yeah. I mean, so just in general, I think that's what DC FanDome has kind of done for me today, is that, like, it's a great time to be a DC fan. There are so many things on so many fronts, games, movies, film, and TV that are coming that kind of meets any kind of fans' expectations or desires in a lot of ways. And as a Batman fan, the fact that we're getting this film and HBO Max series and Ben Affleck's Batman in both the Snyder Cut and in the Flash movie, and we're getting Michael Keaton's Batman. What? My mind has been blown all day. I don't know what else I could possibly even hope to want. And the video game thing on top of that. Like, so there's something for everybody, but man, the Batman definitely takes the cake for me.
Yep, same here.
Samesies.
And if we don't have any other major things, and if you do, that's fine. You can say it. But you can say it as we plug things and get on out of here, I guess, right?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Lauer, you go first.
Well, sir, for BOF specifically, coming up this on Tuesday, August 25th, will be my review for a new comic book called Batman 3 Jokers, #1, written by Jeff Johns, drawn by Jason Fabok. And I have read it, and I can't say anything, but you should probably buy it. And that review will be up on BOF on that day. As for myself, I am the host of one of those podcasts you mentioned at the top of the show, the Batman Book Club. It is a fun podcast talking about Batman comics. Mr. Haas finally made his debut.
Thank goodness.
In one of the most recent episodes. Other members, familiar voices of Batman on Film and others. And Chris Clow will be on it in the future. That is faux show. Follow that on Twitter at the Batman BC. And there you go. Oh yeah, by the way, the Batman trailer looked freaking awesome.
All right, Chris.
So you can find me on Twitter at Chris Clow, CHRISCLOW. Got a few irons in the fire right now, so some of you probably know that I'm on a comic book reading podcast called The Comic Binge with a friend of BOF, Paul Herman.
Yee.
Thank you. Oh, no, please, no. No applause. The most recent episode we recorded was for the first 8 issues of Marv Wolfman and George Perez's new Teen Titans, which you can listen to now. We're actually planning a new episode, which will be about the Image Comics series, The Old Guard. I think the first 6 issues of that, written by Greg Rucka. And we're going to have a special guest on that, a friend of Paul's from the world of Star Wars fandom. I'm working on a couple of different backup feature episodes for my Batman Podcast Network show, Comics on Consoles, where Ryan and I are probably going to talk relatively soon about Iron Man VR. But Ryan, you want to talk about the game stuff that dropped at FanDome? You want to do that?
Oh, let's do that.
Let's do that, and I'll bring some friends too. I think that would be fun.
Let's do it.
So you can look forward to that and check out comicsonconsoles.com for more about that show. And my Star Trek show, Discovery Debrief, has started up again because there's new Star Trek to talk about. A new animated series called Lower Decks just premiered on CBS All Access, which is kind of a more humorous take on the franchise, but it's still in continuity, which is really interesting.
Wow.
It's worth watching, but we're getting together for that. And we also just recently recorded an episode where we recapped the first season of Star Trek Picard. So if you're a Star Trek fan, check us out.
Awesome. So much good content coming out from you guys. So yeah, of course, like I said at the top of the show, follow the Batman Podcast Network itself at BatPod Network, and BOF's Instagram at Batman on Film. Ryan Haas, the host of this BOF podcast, can be found on Twitter at SMB_Ryan. The SMB stands for the Super Mario Brothers movie, which you can follow my Super Mario Brothers movie archive website on Twitter at SMB Movie. We have so much cool stuff that has come out lately. I've got a brand new video interview with some of the a screenwriting pair that wrote one of the drafts of the movie that a lot of people have not talked to before, that will be posted very soon on our YouTube page. So please be on the lookout for that. It's super cool little conversation that we did on a video chat, which is also new for the website. And of course, there's the Robin Everyone Loves the Drake podcast you can find on Twitter at ELTD Podcast. We just released our latest episode. We are on the cusp of covering Batman Legacy, which is one of my favorite Batman storylines ever. And so I guess that would be everything that I would want to plug at this current moment. So for now, I think that was a hell of an episode, guys. Thanks for joining. We covered so much ground in a little bit more than 59 minutes, but, don't tell Bill. Anyway, that wraps up today's episode. For Chris and Ryan, I'm Ryan. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF Podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF Podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/jet.batmanonfilm. Email Jet via jet@batman-on-film.com. I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.